Hello, welcome to Ekidel. My name is Justice Unwaka. I am your instructor. Today, we will be learning how to model a steel building using protastructure as our design software. Okay, looking at this model right now, this is a composite structure which consists of a concrete member and also a steel member. This is a workshop building which has an office upstairs, and then it has this area which is the ground floor is used as the workshop. So today we will be learning how to model this composite structure here in protastructure software. Okay, so let's get started. To begin, to model our steel building, we first of all have to create a grid because this is just a plain this is a plain prota environment. So we will just create our grid lines. So to create that, we'll go to building setout and we'll click orthogonal axis generator. Then we'll click on any of these, and then we set our spacing of grid. We want to use 4 meters, so we just say 4,000 on the x-axis and 4,000 on the y-axis. Then we'll click on OK. So this now we now have our grid right now. So since we are doing for a steel building, we go to concrete steel members. So click on steel columns. So we want to insert our steel columns right now. So click on steel columns. You can also get the icon on this area. You can see them right here. So I'll be using the icons, but everything that is on this tab is also on this steel member here. So the first thing to do right now is to insert our steel. We click on this intersection axis between axis A and also axis 1. Then we click on escape, or click on this escape here. Then the next one right now, we will have to edit these steel members. To do that, I'll click on this on the column, steel column, right click and say properties. Okay, right click. Okay, just wait. So I'll urge you to also subscribe to get more of our steel tutorials. Also, you can also tell your friends and share our videos so that they can also learn how to design steel buildings and also concrete building using protastructure. So I'll click on properties, and then I'll click on this place, steel manager, and then a dialog box will appear, which will now prompt us to choose. Okay, we will be using eurocode to design for our steel building. So I'll choose European norm. Then I want to use HEB beam. So I'll choose HEB steel member, and we want this steel column to be HEB 200. So I'll click on HEB 200 and now click select. I'll click OK. Then we will now begin to insert our column. So click and click. Also here, we'll click again, click, and then we'll click. Then we'll click on escape. So let's see. Okay, so we have our column right now. We have 6 columns inserted, which is column 1. This is still HEB 300. So I'll just quickly delete this and go back to my column and insert back. Okay, so it now takes the new changes that we make. So this is now HEB 200. This is column 2, column 3, column 6, 5, 4. Okay, so the next thing right now we'll do is to insert our beams. To do that, you go to steel members and you see your steel beam, or you go to this icon right here. So you click on the icon and then click on members on this place to choose your steel member. We will be using HEB 180 for the steel beam. So click on HEB 180 and then we'll click select and then we'll click on OK. Then the next thing right now we'll do is to insert our beam. I'll click on one of the center of the column and I'll click on this, the next one. Then again, I'll go over and click, also click to insert our beams. Okay. So the next thing is to insert, there's a beam running this way. Don't forget, this is what we are designing for. We are designing for this. I'll show you the picture of what we want to create this steel model using protastructure. So we just formed this column, these 4 columns, these 6 columns on this area. So let's go back to our prota. Okay, now the next thing right now we'll do is to insert our slab. This place has a slab. You can see from this photo, this place is an office. So there is a slab over this. So we insert our slab right there. So click on slab icon. This is not a steel slab. This is a concrete slab that I want to insert. So we'll choose our slab thickness 150. Then we'll click on load. Since it's an office, so just click on dead load. We want to use 1.5 as our dead load. Then we'll click on impose load and right click on this area and choose office building. Okay, office area. So click on it because that workshop has an office upstairs. So then we'll click on the panel to set our slab and then click on escape. Then the next thing right now we'll do right now, because if you look at that, let's check out our 3D right now, our 3D view. Looking at this right now, you can see that we have almost achieved what we have on this ground floor on this place. Then the next thing right now we'll do is to go back to our prota and go back to our plan view. Okay, so right now the next thing we'll do is to insert our story. To do that right now, so that we can go and create this story, this upper story, right? So we'll go back to prota and then we'll click on building. Okay, let's just hold on for it to load before we click. So I would say you should subscribe because we will be doing a lot of steel model in our recent videos. So we'll click on to insert story, we'll click on edit. We'll click on building setouts and then we'll go to insert story. We'll click there and then this is just a 1-story workshop building, as you can see right now. So we will just click here, we'll say 2 because we already have story 1, so we want to insert the upper story, so that's why we're saying 2. And then we'll click on OK and then we'll click on proceed. Yes, then we want to now generate story, so click on story 1 and then go on building setouts and click on generate story. So we want to copy these beams and these columns for at story 1 down to story 2. So we click on story 1 and then we click on our target story 2, leaving everything here checked, and then we'll say except the slab. Let's take off the slab because we don't want slab at that level because there is no slab on this level. So we take off the slab and then we'll say OK. And then we'll say close. Automatically, let's see what we have right now on our 3D view. Now you can see what we have just created. So right now we'll go back to our plan view to start creating for the next platform over here. So click on plan. Now, looking at this model which we want to create, we have 3 columns at the front of this place. So we go back to our prota and then we have the columns on this place. So we also click on our steel columns and then insert these steels again, these steel columns again, and then click on. Meanwhile, know that we are doing that on the second floor, not on the ground floor. On the ground floor, we are done with everything we're doing on the ground floor. The only thing we'll put is our steel side prolines, which we have here. Now we are working basically on the upper floor, which is on the roof floor also. So we click on this and then we'll go to our story 00 and story 2, sorry. Then we have our columns inserted. The next thing we'll do right now is to insert our steel beams that will connect this stanchion to this stanchion, and then we'll click on steel beam, still the same size, HEB 180. So click, and then we click. Now let's escape and go to our 3D view. This is where our modeling comes in full phase. Now look at what we have right now. We have just created this. We have created this. But looking at this our model right now, you will see that this is from this place to this place. This is dropping. This place is dropping, that it is like an inclined face, is like dropping, sloping down at this area, and this slope is minus 800. So we go back to our portal view, go back to our plan view, and then all these columns will have a drop down of 800. So we click on each of the columns and say properties, and then we'll click to drop that. We'll click on 3D, and then we want the top to drop, because looking at this phase right now, you can see that what is dropping here is the top, so that we can have this inclined plane. So we click back on our footer and then click on this Z top as minus 800. That is what is in, that is what that column is dropping with. And then we click on this. If we look at our 3D view, you see what we have got. You can see that this column now is now dropping. We will also drop the beam later. So let's drop all our, let's drop the beam before I drop all other columns, these other two columns here. So we drop this beam right now. We'll go back to our plan view, and then this beam also will drop at 800 on this upper side, which is the right hand side of the steel beam. So click on beam and properties, and then click on 3D view, and then we click on this now you see I and J section. Now this J section is always the upper side or the right hand side of your steel members or concrete members. Why the J simply means the left hand side. So we click on this J which is this area, which is the upper side. We say minus 800, and then we click on updates and then close. So let's see on 3D view what we have got. Now you can see that what we have right now, you can see what we have got right now. You can see what we have. Okay, so let's go again back to our plan view and do the same for all. So with this right now, we will insert our beams. Let's confirm if our beam have already been set. Okay, it's already been set. So let's go and click here, escape again, go again and drop it here, and then we say escape. Then we now drop these columns. We will drop these columns by 800. The reason we're doing that is because looking at our shape right here, we have all this face inclined. So we go, and if you check on what we have here right now on this 3D view, you can see what we have. This is not how it is meant to be. This column on this face is meant to drop down to the level of this beam. So we can also work that on this place. So we just click on this column, right click and set properties. And then we go to 3D view, and on the upper side we say minus 800 and we say update. You see what happened there? You see? Okay, so the next thing right now again we'll do for this. So you can also work on your 3D view model while you're working on your protastructure. Say minus 800, sorry, 800, and say update. This is what we have right now. Now, if we look at our model right here, you see that we are beginning to get what we want to achieve. Now, looking at this column, they are dropping down from the roof down the ground level, from the top here down to the ground level. But looking at our own right now in Pota, you can see that they are hanging. So to do this right now, to do this, we click on the column, on these columns. I can choose to work on this 3D area. Right click and say properties. Now, on this dialog box that will appear just now, it's coming up. So you can choose to work on your 3D view. You can also choose to work on your plan view. But it's always good for beginners to work on plan view. Why? For when you are a bit advanced, you can now start working on your 3D model. But our advice, you just stick to work on your plan view area. Okay, so this is taking time to load. Okay, so to do this right now, we will just click on this place length story. We'll say 2. So click on update. Immediately to drop this column length, this button down to the story 1. Okay, so this is what we have. So we do this right now for all. So we click on this, right click and say properties, and then we'll click on this story and say 2 and say the updates. The same thing we'll do right now here too. We'll click on the column, right click, properties, and then we say this place 2 and then update. So right now you can see that now that we have achieved this. The next thing we're going to right now is to insert our wall load. Okay, so okay, no, not the wall load first. Now we have a beam connecting these columns at this face. So to do that right now, we will go back to our plan view. Okay, we have a beam connecting this face, these columns on this face. So click on steel beam and then go back to this place. There is no dropping, so click on 0 and then click and then we'll say update. The same again, we'll go again and create the beam here. Click on escape and then the next thing we'll do, let's check it on 3D view. Always check on 3D view. Now you can see what we have. It is going down, is going up. So we will now have to drop this beam 800 left and right. So click on the beam, right click and then update properties. Then we'll click on 3D. We say minus 800 minus 800. We click on update. Okay, so that's what we have. Then we'll click on this place again. Don't forget, the reason why you're dropping it is to get the shape. Not that you have to drop all your beams. No, it's to get your shape from what we have right here. You can see the shape we want to achieve. So that's why we are dropping it. And that minus 800 is not a constant. You can it depends on the kind of model you're working on. Yours can be 1000 dropping, 500 dropping, or 750 dropping. So it depends on the plan that you have. That's where you can now work with. Okay, so right now we click on this beam and then by click properties and then we go to 3D and then we say minus 800 and then minus 800 and then we'll click on update. Okay, so close. Now we go back to our plan view to now insert our wall load. So we want to create this wall load right now, having this window space opening. So then we'll click back on our portal, and also we'll also create this wall having door openings. So we'll go back to our portal, go to our plan view, and then go to our story 1, not story 2, story 1, to create our wall load. So to create the wall load, we'll click on this beam, right click and say edit beam wall load. So we wait for a dialog box to appear. Okay, so you can now see how fast we have gone to create the model, the workshop model. So these dialog box appear for the wall load. So we click on then the wall unit weight. We are using a wall of 150 millimeter So we would say 2.97 as the wall unit weight, and then we click on the wall height, which is 3 meter, and then we click on the wall thickness 0.15, and then to create that opening, we click on edit opening. So this opening right here, this opening right here is 600 from the face down to this area, and this opening is having 1 meter by 1 meter, and this is also this one is 3.2 meters from this end. So let's just see how we create that in Prota. Okay, so to create the hole or the space on the wall, the openings, we'll click on add, and then we'll input our distance, x distance, which we have 600, and then our height distance, which we have 900. Okay, the next thing again, we'll add an arm again, we'll add again, input our distance, 200, and okay, sorry, let's say 3 meters. Okay, it's still close to the wall, so let's say 2,400. Okay, then we'll go to 900. Okay, so we'll now click on OK, and then OK. So we also have the same thing on this area. So we will just click on this beam, which we have already loaded the wall load, as you can see here ticking, hashed dark. So we'll now click, right click, and say copy beam wall load. Copy to this beam, click on this beam, right click, and say paste beam, copy beam wall load, and I'll say yes. Yes, create the openings too. Now the next one now is to create this door opening right now. First of all, let's see what we have on our Prota if we have this opening created. We'll click on story one, sorry, then 3D view. Okay, you can see what we have right now. Okay, this our opening has it has a load. It's always good to put a load right on an opening when you're creating an opening on the wall. So back to plan view, and then we'll click on this beam, right click, and say edit beam wall load. Go back to our opening and input this load 0.5, and here 0.5. You can see right now this is loaded 0.5, and then we'll click on OK, and then OK. So let's see the difference. Now 3D view, what we have. This place have not been loaded, so let's see the difference. Okay, now you see that here is having a sky blue a bit hashed, while here is just open. So we also click right here. Let's work on plan view. So we click on this beam tool, and then right click, edit beam wall load, and then click on the opening, input our load 0.5 for the opening, and 0.5. What happened here? 0.5. Then we'll click on OK, and then OK. Okay, so the next one right now we'll do right now is to create this wall load on this face, and also the wall load on this face. So just as it is on this model for this, so I can have our door. So we'll go back to our Prota, and then this is the face. We click on this beam, right click, and say edit beam wall load. Hit the same thing, 2.97, 3 meter, 0.15. Create on edit openings. So our door size is 900. So then our height is 2.1, which is 2.1 millimeter, 100. Then our distance, which is meant to be from our look right here. This door is standing on the midpoint between of this beam. So we will just go and click and say the midpoint on this beam will be around 2 meters. So we click on 2 meters and see what we have. Although that's not the midpoint, so let's create let's see 1.8. No. 1.5. Yeah, that'll work. Okay, so we'll click on, then we'll add our load 0.5. Don't forget this. This load can increase depending on okay. So since we have the same thing, right on this area. We'll just copy the wall load. So click on the beam back and say right click, copy beam wall load, and then click on this place, right click and say paste copied beam load and say yes. Also paste opening it, yes. Then let's see what we have got. Right, go to plan 3D view, right click. So this is what we have right now. You can see we almost achieving. So the next one is to put our wall load here without openings. So just as we have, let me see if we see that. Okay, there's a wall load around the back here without openings. So let's go back and then plan view. Note we are all what we have been doing right now is on the story one. Okay, so we click on the beam to input our wall load. Then we'll click on edit beam wall load. We'll now go to 2.97 3 meters and 0.15. We will not have to edit because that place doesn't have opening of window or any vent. So we'll click on OK. Then we'll click on copied beam wall load. Click on this place, right click and then paste copied beam load. Say yes. Now let's go and check what we have our 3D view. Now this is what we have. You can see that. So we have fully completed this office area. The next thing right now I'll do is to start inserting our steel members, which is on the roof. So we will now go and work on the second floor because that's where we have our roof level. So we go back to Prota and click on back to plan view first and click on story 2. Story 2. Now our height, you can see this height right that we have here. Our height here is 3 meter first and 3 meter on this other level. So go back to our plan view. That's what we have here, 3 meter and 3 meter. But if at all in case you want to change your story height, you can do that on clicking on edit and then building setups and then click on edit story. So you can impute your story height here and impute your story height here and then you say okay. But for now what we have is 3 meter, so we'll just say 3,000 millimeter and say 3,000 millimeter and then we'll click on okay and then proceed. Yes. Okay, so right now we have, so to do our next phase right now is to create this steel truss. So to create this steel truss right now, this steel truss right now, we'll go back to our Prota and then to create a steel truss right now, you click on steel members and then you click on steel truss. Now from this point out message right, you're seeing when they're saying pick 2 axis intersection for members insertion. So we have our steel truss on this and this. So we will now have to go back to our Prota and zoom out this area and click our first point and click our second point. Now a dialog box will appear immediately you click on the second point for you to choose your type of truss, your steel types, your truss type, sorry. From our model right now, this is the kind of truss that we have. Here we have the smaller side and also we have a higher chord. This is not a triangular truss, but looking at it right now, it looks as if it's a triangular truss, but this is not. So we go back to our Prota right now. This is the kind of truss that we use to create this model right now. So we click on this and then we will now click on OK. Let's now click on escape. So let's check on 3D view what we have just created. Click on 3D view. Now this is what we have just created. So we have successfully created this first truss, which is from here and to here. But Now we will now have to edit the size of this truss, because this truss is having different member size that maybe we do not want. So to do that right now, we go back to plan view. I don't like working on this 3D view. So I'll go back to plan view, and then we zoom out, and then click on our truss. Can see their truss, click on it. Right click and say properties. Now we want to edit the sizes of these members for this truss. So click on members. Now on this first, we have top chord. The top chord simply means this top truss member. So we click on this top chord. We want our, now we are using eurocode, so we click on European now, and we click on this L channel. Okay, sorry, angle iron. Then we want our top chord size steel member to be 100 by 50 by 10. So click on select and say okay. Then we have next to change bottom chord. Bottom chord simply means this bottom truss member. So click on this also to change it. We then click on this angle iron, and then we have a default of 75 by 50 by 5 thickness, but we want to use 75 by 75 by 5, and then we click on select and say okay. Now the next thing we have right now is the diagonals to change. So we have diagonal. Diagonal simply means these diagonal truss members. Can see that? So we click on this, and then we click on angle iron. The default is 65 by 50 by 5, but we want to use 70 by 70 by 5. So click on select, and then we click on OK. Now the next thing we'll have now is the verticals. Now the verticals simply means this vertical truss members. So we want to change the size to our preferred size. So we click on this, and then click on angle iron, and then we click on the default here is 50 by 50 by 5, but we want 55 by 55 by 5. So we click on select and say okay. Now after this right now, you can now click on your final okay. Now looking at the 3D view now, you might not see the changes, but if you hover your mouse over this truss, you will now see the changes already on that text box. So we go back right now to our plan view. Now looking at our this model I want to create, this truss now is now this truss that we just created right now. Also, this truss that we have right now is the same truss that we have on this and on this member. So we also go now and to click to insert our truss on this place. So we'll click on truss, and then we'll click on our first point and our second point of. We have already set all our members, can see here. So we will just click on OK, and then we click again to insert the next one, and then we now click on escape, or you just type your escape key, escape, and then let's go and check it out what we have on 3D view. So this is now what we have on our 3D view. Okay, looking at our model which we want to create, we have successfully created this backside right now. So we will now have to create this inclined truss member for this area. So we will now have to create this one on this area right now. So we will now go back to our plan view and then click on our truss again. Now remember that when I was starting the other one, I picked my first point right now here. If you pick your first point, if I pick my first point, the first point simply means that the first point is where this short truss height will be inserted. But right now we have our this short side on this area. So this place will now be our first point to click we want to insert. So we go back to our truss right now. So we click on this first place as our first point and not this place. So click this and click this as second point and we say okay. So just say escape and let's see what we have now got on 3D view. Now you can now see that this is what we have got. This is what we now have right now. Looking at this our model, we have this upper side at the same place, but this is not corresponding to what we have on our model which we want to create. On our model, this truss is also flushing with this beam member, and this beam member is inclined with minus 800. But what we have right now is not what we have. So to do this right now, we have to drop this end of this truss down by minus 800 so I can flush with this steel beam member. So go back to plan view, zoom out and click on that truss, right click, and then we'll click on properties. Now we want to drop this point of the truss by 800. So we click on this place, left vertical offset. So we click here and say minus 800, and then we'll click on OK. So let's see what we have on our 3D view. Now you can now see that we have now successfully dropped it. Okay, so this is what we have also on this place. Now the same truss repeats itself on these two members. So we will have to repeat the same truss on these two members here and here. Now we click back on truss. You start our point from here. You don't start from here because we want this short end to be on this face and our longer end to flush with this truss. So we go back and click the first point of insertion and second point of insertion and say we click on OK. We already have that property of minus 800 dropping already inserted. So go again and click, and then we can now click on escape. Going back to our 3D view to see what we have just created. Okay, so you can now see now that we now have almost what we are looking for on this model. So we have successfully created this three truss, and we have done all our truss work. The next thing right now we'll do is to create our wind bracing. As looking at this place right now, you notice that we have our wind bracing inside here. So we have to create that on protastructure. We click and then say plan view. Now we are still working on this story too. So this has a wind bracing on each of these panel. So to do that right now, we click on steel brace. So when you click on steel brace, you'll be asked to select 2 columns or 2 beams should be selected for members insertion. So click on this and then click on this. A dialog box will appear immediately you click that for you to start changing the size of your brace. So to change our size, we click on this profile here, and then we click on this, and we click on EN, angle iron. We want, it has a default of 80 by 80 by 80 by 80 by 8, but we want 75 by 75 by 5. Then we click on select and we say OK. Automatically we now say final OK. We now have our steel bracing inserted. Let's see what we have on 3D view. Okay, so we can now see that what we just created is this. You can see that we have just created this steel brace which we have on our model. You can see that inside here, that is as if it's dark. You can see also inside here, which is here, this place here. So we also have the same thing on all other panels that we have here. So go to plan view, and we want to create the same thing that we have on all other panels. So we go back and click on our steel brace and select our members to insert it, and then we say okay. Again we click, and then we click, we escape, sorry, first, then we click on our steel brace, and then we click, and then we click, and then we say okay. Then we escape again, and we click on our steel brace, and then we click, and then we click, and then we say okay, and then we say escape. Now we now look at our 3D view which we have. Now you can now see that we have successfully created all our wind bracing, which is called here steel brace. Next thing from our model, which we have right here, is to create our prolines, which is this blue, sky blue member that is here. So it's to create our prolines. So we go back to our prota, and then always work. Okay, you can choose to work on plan view to create these polylines, or you choose to work right here on 3D view. So I will work on 3D view right now, so that it can be easy for me to select my truss, because we will have to select two truss to insert the polylines. So click on our polylines. So click on polylines, and you'll be asked to select two trusses for inserting of this member. So click on, we want to start on this, so click on first this truss and then this truss. Select two truss, okay. So click this and this. Okay, so now this comes up right now. So we will now have to change our size of our polylines. So we'll click on this. This is now UPN. Click on UPN. No more longer angle iron. Click on UPN. We want to use UPN 100. Just as it is there as default, but you can choose to use your 80 and 120. But based on this model, we want to use 100. So we click on select, and then we click on okay. Now the next thing right now you do is to input your load, because this tipo lines carries the roofing sheet. So we click on our load. Now to click on this load right now, you have to insert your load on these staple lines. So to do that right now, we will now have to click on add load. To add load right now, the next thing you'll be asked to is to input your load. For this right now, we will put 2 kilonewton per meter as our load. Then I'll click outside. Now we want to assign this load onto these members. Now looking at this right now, this our load. This load is hitting on these polylines. So we have to input it downward, which is minus, and then we'll click. Now we want to assign this polyline. So click on this group, and then we click on, when you click on this group, then you go over this place and click. There will be a drop down. You say select L1, and then you say, because this L1 simply means this load label. So yeah, so you're trying to assign this load label over all these polylines, polyline 1, 2, 3 to 7, which is polyline 1, 2, 3 to 7 here. So click on OK. Automatically you can now see that the color has changed. So we can now say OK. Yes, we say yes. So this now, you cannot see your prolines heavily loaded to carry the roofing sheets. So we click on outside. Now you cannot see your prolines right now, which we have on our model here. Okay, back to our this thing. Back to our prota. We also have prolines right on this or other truss to cover all this roof. So click on our prolines again. At this time, we will not have to set anything again because it's has already been set. Although we will check already. So we will have also to pick two truss again. So we pick, it assumes that you're not going to pick a beam or that member. So you pick truss and this truss. And let's check our load if our load is already assigned. Okay, it's not assigned, so click back on our assigned and on our group and then click here and say assign. So and say okay. You can now see that the load is being assigned. When the load is assigned, you see how the load will be hitting on the truss. You can now see the load hitting on the truss. So you can now say okay. Okay, so you now have this already inserted. The next thing we'll do right now, we have achieved on this side. We also want to achieve on this side. So click back on our Purlins. Clicking on our Purlins right now, we'll select this truss and this truss, and then we'll click on load. Okay, this one is already heavily loaded already automatically. So click on this. Okay, and then we rotate again, and then want to insert these prolines on this truss. So click on prolines again, and then we'll click on the two truss, select one and select this two, and let's check out. Always check load to see if it's loaded. Now this is not loaded in. So you can now click on group. We already have our load here, and then click on assign and say select all and say okay, and you can now see it right here. You can see that. Then we'll click on okay. So with this right now, we have successfully created all our prolines, which we have also on this model. Now the next thing we want to create on this model right now is to create these side prolines. Although here in Prota it is called Girts. So we want to create these side prolines right now. So to do that right now, go back to our Prota. Now you can now see what we have successfully achieved. Now we have to create our side prolines on this ground floor. So to insert this our side bracing right now, this our side bracing right now is to on in protastructure is to do that on 3D view. So we go to 3D view and go on just rotate to see. Now going back to our model which we have this side bracing on these two columns. So we go back to Prota and click on Girts. So to insert this side bracing, you go to steel members, you see this last member right now, which is Girts. So we click on this and on this. A dialog box appears to insert your side bracing. So you now click on the profile. Let's change the profile. We click on UPN. Want to use UPN 80. So we'll click on, or let's leave it as, let's use UPN 120, which is bigger, and this select, and then we say okay, and then we say okay. So looking at this right now, this bracing is at the back. We want it to come out forward at this face. So we will click back on this and right click and say properties. And then we go on this right now, this section alignment. So we click on this and say under, and then we say okay. Now you cannot see how it looks like. This is what we have on then our model right here. Yes, it's at the face here. So that the same thing to all. So to do the next one right now, to insert this next side bracing at the back and also at this face, So let's just do that right now in Prota. And so we have done this successfully. So we can now rotate this. Meanwhile, you can change the spacing of this your side bracing. So you just click, just deselect first, deselect here, and then click on this, right click and properties. You can change the spacing. You can see that the spacing, you can see, we can choose to use 800 for the spacing instead of 1000. Then we can choose also, if you want it to stretch out of the column, you can choose, okay, let's stretch it out by 200 left, and you can see that, and 200 right. So we can also choose to, okay, let's now click on okay. Now you can see what we have right now. Okay, so we can work with this so that the sheet can lap on this face instead of directly on this place, can lap. Okay, this is okay. So let's go and insert for the next, which is at this back right now. Now click on our grids here and click on this column and this column, and then we click on okay. Now let's see what we have. Yeah, this is perfect. This is so perfect. Now you can now let's escape first to see. Now you can now see what we have. This is perfect. Okay, so the next thing again we'll do right now is to click again to insert it over here. Click on this grid icon, this column and this column. Just say okay, let's see what we have. Okay, this is perfect. Then next thing again we'll do is to click again for our grid escape. Always escape, click again, and then click this column and this column. Now click on OK. Then escape again. So this is, you cannot see what we have achieved right now. You cannot see what we have achieved. You can see that what we have just achieved. So successfully we have achieved creating this model. You can see that this model, the same thing we have here is the same thing that we have here. So you can turn off these grid lines to see your model very well. So this is what we have successfully created in less than 1 hour. So this is how to create a composite structure, which is for concrete and for steel, a composite warehouse workshop in protastructure. So this is how to model your steel. So you can see that we will be doing next video on how to do advanced steel, also on advanced steel model right here in protastructure. So in our next video we will be doing a lot. We'll also do a circular tank, how to model a circular tank, steel tank, and also a circular steel that can be used to store grains. So I would advise you subscribe and also refer your friends if you're a student of any university, or you want to learn how to design or model and design a steel building. So I would say you should also refer your friends and also subscribe to our channel Ekidel, and also share our video so that others can also learn how to insert and model steel buildings right in protastructure. Now the next thing we'll do right now is to analyze and design this steel building, but that will be on our next video. So I will say you should subscribe so that you will see how to design and analyze and design these steel members. And also we will take this to Prota Steel, where we will now begin to input our bolts and our nuts and do our proper connection between these two members. So thank you, and this is how to model the steel warehouse. So we have successfully modeled this steel warehouse perfectly on this on protastructure in less than 50 minutes. So thank you and God bless. We'll love you. Ekidel loves you. Thank you.